Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Sadad tabi'ina wa ulama amilina wa a'ima arba'i mujtahideen wa muqalidihim ila yawm ad-din wa ba'd. All right. So we'll be moving on into the second chapter. Why is this chapter so important? And you have to look at it, right? These are one of the more advanced level of study book that the Sheikh who wrote. And he was a mujaddid, right? A reviver of Islam. And also, with him being a mujaddid, he was able to correct contemporary issues and put things back in its place because that's what a mujaddid does. A mujaddid is nothing more than an extension of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they troubleshoot everything, right? Back in the day, I don't know if you guys might be too young for this, but the old telephones, you had to call up, hello, operator, right? You'd be like, y'all need to call such and such, and they'd be like connecting, and they'll pull out one plug and plug it into another one. That's pretty much the job of the student, teacher, da'i, whatever you want to call it, right? A lot of the today's problem in today's society, a big part of our problem is we put titles, and titles also create limitations, right? So a person would be like, I don't know if I can really teach you Usuluddin, I ain't studied it for 20 years. If you sat in a class, you learn Usuluddin and you can explain it. This is why I give a lot of writing assignments now, because now I get writing assignments. See, in the past, I would just narrate the book to you. Oh, it's getting real now. You should see some of the messages I get from people on the side. It's shake. Really though? Yeah. I still ain't get that. People promising me homework. I got one brother though, he thorough. He thorough. He get his work in. Um, inshallah. We'll go back to our Arabic class next week. We got a advanced Arabic class. It's only like 3-4 students, so I got to do class for that. Inshallah, we'll do it next week. Inshallah. But anyway, the way you're able to articulate, right? I wrote that Facebook stat earlier. If you comprehend it, practice it, study it, and then memorize it will permeate more. You learn the subject, you understand it, then you're going to practice it. You see what I'm saying? If you didn't come to class, and you don't understand wudu, you're not gonna make wudu properly. But if you understand it, you're gonna practice it immediately, and you keep studying it so you know the ins and outs of it. Then it becomes easy to memorize. Most people put emphasis on memorization, but you can go to a madrasa full of 4-year-olds, and they'll memorize half the Quran, but they can't tell you anything about it. You see, so having understanding is definitely more important. And you see that a lot in the Catholic school districts. They place emphasis on comprehension. Do you understand? Did you comprehend? Versus completion. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, in our method, that's what's important is having the ability to comprehend, what's going on. I don't think I put that class started in the group. Can you text that in the group for me? Inshallah. Muhammad is on his way. He just texted not too long ago. All right. So anyway, so now we did the introduction, right? And the Sheikh he mentioned that in the introduction, one word that's key is mustanid, right? Mustanid. So which is also showing you that this book is different from the other books because mustanid is like, what is your dalil? What is your chain? How do you know this, right? Mustanid. Okay, it's giving you that connection. Okay, a lot of time we know this word mustanid, but not as I'm mentioning it. You know it as isnad. It's more popular. Right? Mustanid is that connection. Is giving you that connection. So the Sheikh, he talks about things in the introduction. The YouTube videos. You go back and you can go back to them and study those. Because we completed a chapter, it doesn't mean you shouldn't go back and review. This is why when I start popping questions up on people to be like, if you're doing that, then you're not gonna be able to give effective doubt, right? This is your minhaj, your methodology. This thing is battle ready. It's been tested and it's battle ready. This is the shehu. You see what I'm saying? So it's been complete. You already know. You know from the things what Allah Ta'ala gave you. So anyway. وقال المؤلف رحمه الله تعالى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رضي الله تعالى عنه وسدد التابعين وعلماء أملين وأئمة أربع المجتهدين ومقلديهم إلى يوم الدين ما بعد. باب الثاني, the second chapter, في بيان أن متعلق أحكام بالظاهر. All right, he says the second chapter is an explanation, bayan, that the judgment is based on what's apparent. Okay? Now, this is very important to us, especially as students and teachers. Why is that? Because the more you learn about Islam and the more you practice, the more you see the ignorance of the everyday person. And you see where you have to work out, what you have to do in order to teach them, right? Now, also, what happens to the student slash teacher when he grows and he sees what's wrong with the people? What's one of the sicknesses that comes to him immediately in the heart? Ujub or conceit or arrogance. Now you become arrogant. Oh, you guys are so stupid, and so on and so forth. And this is why tasawwuf is so important, because like the Shaykh who mentions in Umdatul Bayan, he said if a person is like a bad seed, putting knowledge on is like pouring water on top of a bad seed to grow bad fruit, bad vegetation. So this is why this is so important. So when studying and going over usuluddin and aqidah and those things, what happens? There's two words, iman and kufr. Lines are drawn. You start seeing things differently, right? This is why, we were having a conversation about, Sheikh, he's promoting the Ash'ari, right? He's giving you all of the different Ash'ari scholars. It's tomato. It can be effective. It can be ineffective. It can be counterproductive. It's effective because those who are looking, seeking the truth, as he always say in his hashtag, give the truth no matter what, they start to find out the truth. It can be counterproductive because those who don't care for the truth actually can be productive. It kind of like pushes them away, right? So now, as the teacher, Yahamakullah, and the student, we have to know how we're going to judge Muslims, okay? How are we going to judge them? What's up with their Aqidah and things like this? This is one of the biggest fitness now, where people are running around asking each other, what's their Aqidah? What's this? What's that? Et cetera, et cetera. Your phone not working? Yeah, it's probably your box, maybe, because the heater was just on. Here, bring your phone up here. Send it up here. Who ain't go get that for? So anyway, what you'll learn is this. This is a principle Ahl Sunnah that Ahl Sunnah don't emphasize on. A lot of people don't emphasize on. You deem everyone, plug it in. You deem a person to be Muslim unless there's something that they say. Is your phone dead? Oh, that's why. Unless it's something that they say or they do that gives you the contraindication that they're not Muslim. All right? So it has to be an action or a statement. What's a statement when you know a person ain't Muslim? What's a statement that you can be like, yo, I know he ain't Muslim. I don't care if he got a kufi on or not. It's any statement. Meaning statement. Thank you, Jesus. I'm Christian. I'm a Jew. Those are statements of kufr. You know, you like, yo, oh, you a Jew? MashaAllah. Let me tell you about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? What are some of the things that a person can do that will tell you that they're not Muslim? Putting on a yarmulke, wearing a cross. I tell you, I said this a long time ago. I seen dudes do it. I seen a brother on Facebook do it. You know the Jesus piece, the medallion, the Jesus pendant. Boys be wearing it. I seen the brother. He was like, "Yo, what's up with that? What's up with that Jesus piece?" He's like, "Man, that's Nabi Isa." All of it laugh. That's kufr. These things are signifying this, right? Star David. Some people are mixing because you have like the Zionist Jews. Some of them would say, we don't believe in God, but we're Jewish by birthright. You see what I'm saying? And so you have some Muslims that are influenced by that. Oh, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, and so on and so forth. So they had the Star of David. You have to qualify that. I mean, first looking at it, this is the sign. These are usually signs of Yahoo. But there's some Muslims, and there's some other people that use it as a representative. Just like the swastika. It means in some country it has different meanings, different cultures. You see it in America, you like Hitler, you know. Yeah, if you read Hitler's biography, Hitler was bad. Wa- watch his uh, uh, what do you call it? Documentary. Yeah, you watch a documentary of him. It depends on who's narrating. His acts, some of his acts were kind of heinous. Crime, how he killed them, threw them in the incinerator and stuff like that. He was trying to build a pure, pure blooded white nation. You know what I mean? But that's a whole nother discussion. So, but anyway, so signs is statements and it's actions. A person does an action, then you see the brother, he could come pray here on Friday. But if you catch him coming out the church, you be like, Akeem, we need to talk for a minute. What's going on with your Akeem? What's happening here? Right? If he wears a suit and tie, that doesn't necessarily mean he's a kafir. You know what I mean? It's disliked. It's better you look like a Muslim wearing Muslim garbs, but he's not a kafir. You don't call him a kafir. We call those kafir clothes. But that doesn't necessarily necessitate kufr, right? So these type of things have to be known. So he starts off by quoting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, وَقَالَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ مَنْ أَلْقَى إِلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامَ لَسْتَ بِمُؤْمِنًا وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام كما في صحيح البخاري عن ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما أمرت وقتل الناس حتى يشهدوا أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة فإذا فعلوا ذلك عصموا مني دماءهم وأموالهم إلا بالحق إسلام وحسيبهم الله على الله وقال عليهم الصلاة والسلام كما في صحيح البخاري أيضا عن أنس من صلي صلاتنا استقبال قبلتنا وأكل ذبيحتنا فذلك المسلم الذي له ذمة الله وذمة رسوله فلا يغفر الله في ذمته. نعم. وقال ابن عربي في الأحكام وعما شهادة اللسان بكلام هو ركن ظاهر عليه تبنى أحكام وتتربت I'm sorry رتبوا أعذار واعتصام انتهى. All right. So in translation, the Sheikh he quotes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. He says, do not say to those who give you the greetings of peace, you are not a believer. right? And there's a backstory to it, to the tafsir. I want you to look the surah, look it up. Inshallah, I'll find it. That's gonna be part of your homework, so make a mental note of that. There's a backstory. You see, yeah, I know the class where I'll tell you look up tafsir, right? I want you to look up tafsir. I can't wait to start getting that assignment that I gave 2 weeks ago. You talk about Ashari, because I know some people gonna run into some of the Salafi history. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly. And then once I get all the assignments and we need to have a discussion on that, that's gonna be a good discussion. Now, inshallah. So then he said he also quoted a hadith out of Bukhari, out of Sahih Bukhari, narrated on the behalf of Ibn Umar, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He said, I've been commanded to fight people until they bear witness that there is no God except Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They'll establish the prayer, they give zakat, and if they do that, then their blood and their property is protected by me, except by the rights of Islam, and for their final reckoning is with Allah. We're going to discuss these three things in detail, and hopefully, it doesn't take up too much time in the class. If it does, then we'll stop like we usually do and just do part two and the other half of next class. So the next hadith he quotes the hadith in Sahih Bukhari on the authority of Anas ibn Malik, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, where he says, whoever prays our prayer, whoever faces our qibla, our direction of prayer, whoever eats our slaughtered meats, that's deep, that he added that in there. We're going to discuss that. Is a Muslim who is under the protection of Allah Ta'ala and under the protection of his messenger. So therefore be mindful of Allah regarding those under his protection. All right. And in the last in this paragraph, he's quoted Ibn Arabi. And this is Abu Bakr Ibn Arabi al-Andalusi. All right. He's famous for he's a Maliki scholar too. He's famous for his Ahkam al-Quran. He's not the same Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi. Okay, the great Sufi sheikh, the Zahiri, the Zahiri, he was Zahiri in his method. Yeah. So they're not the same. And he quotes from the book that he's known for is his Ahkam al-Quran. All right. He says, as for the Shahada of the tongue, it verifies with speech. It is the outward pillar upon which are built all the legal judgments. In its outward judgment, upon which defense in its immunity is determined. Okay. Now, let's go back. So we discussed that ayat. There's a backstory to the ayat. That's going to be part of your homework. Okay. The hadith of Ibn Umar, it is a mutawatir hadith. A tawatir hadith has multiple routes. Its narration, its narrative, the change. There's so many that to deny the narration is disbelief. Okay, is disbelief. The Quran is mutawatir. Right. So in this hadith, he starts off by saying umirtu. I've been ordered. Been ordered by who? By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Because if it said umirna, we've been ordered, then there's possibility that, not just possibility, but this means that the Prophet ﷺ gave the order to the Sahaba. But the fact that the Prophet ﷺ said umirtu, I've been ordered, the only order he's getting is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, I've been ordered to fight people until they testify, right? So what does this mean? That your opponent, your enemy, cannot be the people under this, that follows this following description, right? You're not supposed to. It reminds me of a statement that, the rapper from here in Philly, AR Ab, AR Ab, yeah, he's Muslim. And Vlad had asked him on there about like, he said, man, if it wasn't for Islam, a lot of jokers would have been dead already, right? So even gangsters got this principle, right? They understand this principle. But anyway, so he said, I bear witness. I've been ordered to fight people until they testify that they bear witness that there's no God except Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. That's number one. right? This isn't the only one. A lot of people stop at it. Y'all remember he's mentioned a few things in this hadith that gives the description. So if you never ran into any other hadith that gives a little more detail, like the second hadith, then at least if you knew this one, then that is enough to you for you to know who's a Muslim and what's your boundaries and limits, right? So he says the second thing, he says that they established the prayer, right? It's very important. A lot of people, when younger people they take shahada, they let them leave out the masjid and be like, don't even worry about that right now. Just worry about learning about Allah. Bro, it don't take long to learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can sit down, we can go over the 13 attributes, or we can open up Surah Ikhlas, or we can open up Ayatul Kursi. Khalas, you know who Allah is now. Now we need to learn the prayer, right? You need to learn Tahara and those things that are connected with purity and all of that stuff. This is what I'm saying. Our methodology. We have new Muslims. We should be showing them how to make wudu immediately. We should be teaching them about, encouraging them to come to the masjid. This idea of like, inshallah, make sure you come back. We'll be back here Friday. Here's a good boy. Here's a good book, good brother. In between that time, between that day and that Friday coming up, Shaitan's attacking him, right? Everything's coming at him. If he had a girlfriend beforehand, I don't know. Yeah, all that nur that he just had from taking shahada is starting to go. It's fading, brother. You didn't pay your light bill. You know what I'm saying? So, these things happen. The third thing, giving zakat. And this was also, they said that this was also made reference to by Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when the people were saying that they weren't going to pay zakat no more. The Messenger of Allah ain't here, I ain't paying that, right? So here, you got to give zakat. And then he said what? If they do this, then their blood and their property is protected. So what does that mean? You can't kill him. His blood is protected and his property, right? So because a person that's killed under the hard punishment, you don't take and give out his blood in war, in Ghazwa and war, right? The war booty. Remember we talking about war booty? It made me think of Bubak. He's like, what's the war booty? What type of booty is that? But the war booty, okay, went from the spoils of war. So if you fighting, if you have fought a Muslim, you're not the first. You shouldn't be fighting a Muslim. If you fight a Muslim, you're not to kill him. And you kill him, you can't take his wealth and inherit, because that's a sign of kufr. That he's when I say a sign of kufr, is a sign that he's a disbeliever. He's considered a disbeliever. So the ending of that hadith, he says that their blood and their property is protected by me, from me, except by the rights of Islam. Except by the rights of Islam. There are some things that require uh, um, capital punishment by death. One of them is adultery, right? If you commit adultery, you're supposed to be stoned to death. That's the sentence, right? Not a slap on the wrist. See, this is where Islam differs. See, like, a lot of little wisdom I was trying to drop today in that, when I was talking about people marginalized, the minhaj and marginalization, they quarantine. And so then what happens is you focus on one thing. Like you have some Muslims, the only thing they focus on is Aqidah. You have some Muslims, the only thing they focus on is Riba. They only focus on Tasawwuf. Instead of them studying the deen as a totality, as a whole. So there, what happens is we become negligent of the Sharia, and the Sharia becomes a thing of the past. And the only thing we focus on is those things that spark our interest, like marriage. This is why there's so much back and forth nonsense with regards to marriage. Not just how people are practicing it, but people are just giving rulings out of nowhere. So this is what's happening. So it's not, things aren't being centralized. You're not studying the deen to preserve it. We're actually destroying the deen by only studying one fragment at a time. If something happened to me, there should be another person to be able to step up and say, hey, I can do A, B, C, and D. You see what I'm saying? Well, why? Because he sat down and learned. That's why I said make reference back to your Wathika. Because in the Wathika, we talked about the entire setup of our Jama'at, our judiciary, our defense, our scholarship. Everybody has a role in there. Everybody, and the person, and it's not for one person. People can evolve to that. And I mentioned that in the last class. So anyway, so the next hadith he mentions, that's from Sahih Bukhari. Let me go back. Except by the rights of Islam. So those things that where blood is called capital punishment. Okay, and he said for their final reckoning is with Allah. meaning that those things outside of that, and a Muslim, and they might be committing particular sins. That we're not to search into the details. Look, learn about the person's heart. One of the biggest innovations that we do practice today, is he Ahl Sunnah? We shouldn't be asking that. You're supposed to assume the best about him until he says something, that gives it away. When we go in with that attitude, what happens is we create the war, basically start to sector everybody off. He ain't Ahl Sunnah. I ain't dealing. Now I understand, don't get me wrong, because you might be in a big city and these guys might be on some old crazy stuff, and prayer is very important and you want it to be valid, so you don't want to just pray behind anybody, right? But in order to determine that, it requires a certain level of knowledge. You have to have a certain level of knowledge. So the second hadith that he mentions here is in Sahih Bukhari on the authority of Anas ibn Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu, where he says, whoever prays our prayer, right? Now Sheikh Muhammad Sharif, he pointed out something that was very significant to me. Remember when I mentioned earlier in the first hadith, it starts off with umirtu, right? I've been ordered, okay? And I said, it's not like it said umirna. We've been ordered, right? Right. Now he said, whoever prays our prayer, salatina, our prayer, our salat. And then he also pointed out, whoever does istiqbala kiblatina, our qibla, okay? And our slaughter, our dhabihatina, our slaughter, all right, our method. He said that this pronoun of the word using our, he said it could indicate and give the acceptance that things aren't fixed in one way. Because had it been one way, fixated, I mean like fixed. What I mean by that is, just to give you a little insight on it, wudu. When we do wudu as Malikis, we bring our hands straight to the back and return them right back, right? Hanafis, they bring it to the back and they wipe the neck. According to their madhabs, that's valid. Our madhab is not, it's not invalid. It just isn't. We don't consider it a practice, right? You see what I'm saying? So it's giving that indication. Salat, you got sadl, right? Which we believe is the proper way that the last way the Prophet ﷺ prayed. That was what he left behind in Medina, right? And there's hadiths. And then you have qabd. Some people pray qabd. And they don't just pray, everybody don't even pray qabd the same way. Some people pray qabd where their hand is above their navel. Some people pray under. Then you got the new guys who hugging themselves. The B-boy stand. Yo, baby, yo, yo. But, these are from because they're relying on hadith. Your madhab may not endorse it. But people keep fighting because they don't have no knowledge. They're doing all this talking and arguing about it, but they really don't have no knowledge. Quote, no, this sheikh said this sheikh. Look, man, follow it. That's all you got to do. And if like here, we all pray subtle. Somebody come in and pray cup, we don't say a word. He feel comfortable. I know he feel uncomfortable at first. You see them arms drop. Then he be like, oh, that's some cool brothers. Y'all all right with me. You see what I'm saying? Other matches, you go pray subtle, they be looking at you like, you might have somebody run you down. Hey, why was you praying like that? Yo, the reaction they face, you be like, because the Prophet said something, pray like that. Yo, you see that, they be like, what? It's a lie. You're like, no, I can't because of this hadith, boom, boom. You start breaking it down, and you're like, mashallah. We gotta watch out for the weak hadiths. You're like, yeah, whatever, bro. So anyway, the fact that the Prophet says something when he's saying this, he's saying nah, this noon could mean plurality in the state of mutakallim, where the person is speaking first person. Okay, it can mean more than one person. It can nah also can mean one person, like Allah says. He uses the pronoun nah in the Quran, but he's referring to himself. A lot of people that become Muslim when they read the Quran in English, and they be like, well, what does it mean when Allah says we? Right? And if you come from Christianity, automatically you start thinking, you talk about the Trinity, ain't it? You got the Trinity inside? No, brother, I'm sorry to tell you that, and they can't understand that. So anyway, so this hadith, he says, whoever prays our prayer. So this is giving an indication, that salat it may look different, but our prayer, what is our prayer? What is actually consistent that is agreed upon in ijma? Qiyam, right? No takbir ihram, qiyam, right? And when you talk about qiyam, the hands don't have nothing to do with it. Just standing, right? Ruku', returning from it. Sujood, right? The salam. Those things are agreed upon. There is no khilaf on that. Right? Khilaf come in. Should we do a second salam? Should we do the second and third salam? How should we do it? How should we salam? That's where all of that comes from because there's other narrations. How do you find safety with multiple narrations? Follow a method and stick with it. For us, alhamdulillah, Amul Ahlul Medina, we got it. All right, Khalas. All right. So anyway, so he said, whoever prays our prayer, whoever faces our direction of prayer, Qiblatina. Remember we had this discussion before. This is the Kaaba, and you got north, east, south, and west, right? For the people who's north of the Kaaba, they're going to pray facing what direction? South. Those people who are east of the Kaaba, they're going to pray facing west. Those people who are west of the Kaaba is going to pray facing east. So it makes sense. Istiqbali Qiblatina, our Qibla. The bottom line is the Qibla is the Kaaba in itself facing Mecca. Whatever direction you live in, that's the direction you turn towards that Qibla. So there's no khilaf in that, right? So that also shows you the flexibility of these things, right? The next one is whoever eats our slaughtered meat. Their method. There's more than one method of slaughter. You can, if you have, like let's say like for instance, you hunting a deer. And that chumpy, he over there. You can hit him with the bow. You gotta say Bismillah for that joke, if we let it go. Bismillah, right? Matter of fact, if you have a hunting dog, and this is why Imam Malik says dogs aren't nedges. Only people that have problems with dogs are Shafis. It was funny, man, because we used to hang out with brothers, they were all Shafi. They used to go to AICP. And we stand on our block in South Philly, me and Ahmed, we had chilling. And this dog walks by, right? And the guy, he had an owner walking the dog, and the dog was sniffing everybody. So me and Ahmed just stood there, like they was like, "Oh, whoa, whoa, please keep your dog away from me." He like, "Yo, the dog go bite." They like, "No, no, he's considered impure. Whoa, watch out!" Oh, we was cracking up. Like, well, we Maliki, we ain't got that problem. Because if and this is Imam Malik, how he came to this conclusion is because the ayat in the Quran when you talk about getting a hunting dog to fetch the food, or you can send the dog to bite the neck of that joker, bring the food back. If he was nedges, then that would contaminate the meat. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, it's accepted. Now, so our methods of slaughter, okay? He said he's a Muslim and he's under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the protection of his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So therefore be mindful regarding those under his protection. All right. So all of these things here that's mentioned are outward appearances, and you don't question a person about what they believe. If he says something, then you have to correct what he's saying. If he says something, kufr or deviancy, then you correct that. But if he doesn't say it, you don't sit there and try to figure out if he's Ashari or if he's Maturidi or is he a Mu'tazila. You don't try to figure that out. You just embrace him as your brother. If we live more by this principle, then we wouldn't have as much problems as we have. So the Sheikh, he goes on and he mentions the statement of Ibn Arabi. He says the Shahada on the tongue verifies his speech, and it is an outward pillar which is built upon all legal judgments. All the legal judgment, meaning you consider him Muslim, you can't fight him, you can't kill him. All the legal judgments is built on the outward appearances of them being Muslim. He says it is the outward judgment upon which defense and immunity is also determined. All right. And so the Shehu, he concludes by saying two things. Inshallah, we'll quote this. I won't read the Arabic just for the sake of time. The Sheikh, he says, I say, it is the agreement of the consensus of Ahl Sunnah, the ulama of the Sunnah, may Allah be pleased with them, that whoever verbally pronounces the Shahadatain has secured himself the judgment of Islam. So whenever you read one of the books of the Shehu and he says Qultu, and he says that, what he's saying is this now, he's giving a fatwa on this matter. Okay? And I say it is the agreement of the consensus of the scholars of the Sunnah, may Allah be pleased with them, that whoever verbally pronounces two testimonies of the Shahad, the two testimonies of Shahadatain, has secured himself the judgment of Islam. Abdul Salam ibn Ibrahim al-Lakhani says in his commentary of Jawhar al-Tawheed, right? Do me a favor, call Abdullah. He done call him about like 3-4 times already. He says in his Jawhar al-Tawheed, the commentary on that, he says, whoever makes the verbal pronouncement of Shahada has secured the judgment of Islam regarding his religion. He can never be judged as a disbeliever except if there is associated with him by his own unequivocal conviction, which corroborates his disbelief, like prostrating to an idol. Okay? So, now, as students and future scholars, you always find a quote from the Quran. When you putting together an article or discussion, whatever the case is, you always find your proof in the Quran. You always try to find your proof in the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And the uh, extraction from the scholars, then you quote their name, right? Quote their name and also quote their book. Sometimes you don't have to, but definitely the name or who, because sometimes things are recognized by that individual, because scholars are transmitters of the Quran and Sunnah. A madhab is the transmission of the Quran and Sunnah with its principles. Because once you learn fiqh, then you start getting into usul fiqh, and once you get into usul fiqh, you start learning how they derived their rulings. So your insight is different. That's why the Shaykh who always talks about al-tabsir or tabasir, insight. He's always talking about that, because through your research, you get what you need from your teacher, but through your personal research, you're supposed to gain insight. You gain insight. So when you're dealing with this stuff, one of the things that you have to keep in mind and take in consideration is how you're quoting proof. See, nowadays most people be fighting and they be like, Sheikh Islam said such and such, such and such, such and such, right? Or they'd be like, Mufti so and so says such and such, such and such, right? As the Shaykh who teaches us when we go over the Umdatul Bayan, I mean not Umdatul Bayan, Ihya Sunnah again, he teaches us that we shouldn't argue on behalf of the theory, meaning the ijtihad of the ulama. I can't make you leave praying Qub by giving you the ijtihad of Imam Malik. You see what I'm saying? I have to give you the evidence. Some people can. I mean, some people can. It's not illegal, right? But it's to keep in consideration, because all you do is you're just gonna keep going back and forth arguing. Well, my sheikh is more knowledgeable than your sheikh. This when you read some of the old books like conversation between Muhammad Sheikh Bani and Imam Shafi, they used to go at it about who was better, Imam Malik or Imam Abu Hanifa. My sheikh is more knowledgeable than your sheikh. Well, who's the most knowledgeable in the Quran? Imam Malik. Who's the most knowledgeable in the Hadith? Imam Malik. Then you need to shut up then and stop talking about my sheikh. You'll be going through this kind of stuff all day. But when you're talking about dealing with rulings, that's why also another thing is problematic when you have two mujtahids reside in the same area. That's why when Imam Ahmed reached the level of mujtahid, Imam Shafi left Iraq and went to Egypt. You see, there's a conflict. Then also another thing is that we have to look at madhabs as law. This is another reason why our companies, why our communities don't grow, because we're not studying Sharia from A to Z. So therefore, it leaves room for groups like ISIS and all these different guys coming through and be like, yeah, we need to fight jihad. I'm like, y'all know how to make wudu. You don't need to make wudu. Die in the way of Allah. Strap this bomb on and boom, baby. Bismillah, boom. Right? You be like, oh man, this ain't. Somebody that knows the Sharia be like, man, you out your damn mind, man. Like, what you doing? But that's how they catch it. Most of their followers are extremely ignorant of the Sharia. Right. Right. Because you're getting promised paradise. You get, listen, listen, man. If somebody's promising you paradise, like yo, you just all you gotta do is die in the way of Allah, and you'll be in Jannah. Sound like it's you'll be in Jannah, right? You be like, man, I just came from the club, the shaky butts, right? And you telling me all I gotta do is just throw this vessel, and that's it, right? And he gonna sit there with his tear in his eye, thinking about it, and then boom, right? So that this is part of today's issues. Alaikum salam to the castle. So the next fatwa he gives the second fatwa in the text. He says, I say the division of Muslims are three. Number one, those who are Muslim by birthright. These are the children of Muslims. Alaikum salam to the castle. Sorry, Muslim scrollberries. You might as well offer your wife some too, because we done killed them already. We sharing some scrawberries. So he says a person who's born Muslim by birthright, right? These are the children of Muslims who have not obtained the level of taklif. Okay, so what he's saying is, because this always becomes a discussion, he's saying if you were born Muslim, you're Muslim. Right. So what he's clarifying right here, he's saying you're born Muslim, you're Muslim. Even you didn't reach the age of puberty. So the second thing, he said, those who are Muslim based on the outward only. These are those who are outwardly manifest Islam while their beliefs, their tenets of belief are erroneous and corrupt. However, no one knows about them except Allah, because he hasn't said anything to give the indication that he's up on kufr or that he's on bid'ah, right? Third thing, there are those who are Muslim both in their outward and their inward, and these are those who are outwardly manifest their Islam, accompanied with the soundness of their tenets of belief, as Imam Fakhr Islam Badawi he outlined these divisions in minute detail. Right? He said, "Wa billahi tawfiq." All right. So one thing I just want to add to this, and I'm adding to this because this is uh, a common thing that happens today. People, chapter 2, we just finished the whole chapter. People wrongfully sometimes tell a person they're not Muslim. And then when you are you're talking to him, you're like, well, why not? Because he don't follow the Sunnah, Aki. No, that doesn't take him outside of Islam, unless there's conditions to it, right? You know, these things, and really, this is just going into some of the details, But I'm just mentioning this because this is some of the fitna that we face in today's contemporary time. Somebody be like, man, you ain't Muslim, you don't follow the Sunnah, you're a Catholic, right? This can be true because following the Prophet ﷺ, Allah tells us in the Quran to follow the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah, but right now they deviant at minimum. At minimum, they can get up. They escalate to the level of kufr immediately because they be like, I don't follow anything except the Quran. Okay, like Aki, Allah Ta'ala tells you in the Quran to follow the Prophet ﷺ. Well, I ain't following no man. Okay, now you're moving away from bid'ah, heading towards kufr, right? And they start doing that. You can go there, right? They like modern day Mu'tazila because there's some of the issues that is mentioned with regards to kalam. I think the Sheikh mentions it in chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken. At the end, yeah, somewhere in there.
I got a question.
Okay.
All right. Well, the Sheikh says that if you're born in Islam, then you're Muslim.
Right.
I took Shahada earlier, because my he said that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said one who says Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and he's Muslim.
Right.
He said that that hadith is supporting the hadith where Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who was born and he asks the people of the paradise until what is decreed for him. He said that at the age, he told me at the age when you reached puberty, when you became a color, your choice at this point is to choose Islam or choose whatever other path you want to go. So you're gonna choose Islam, even though the community know that you can be Muslim, but you have to clarify and clarify that you're Muslim. So when he told me to take Shahada, to declare the Shahada openly. Everybody, you know what I'm saying, see, I'm in the masjid.
I guess that was always a discussion about whether a person born Muslim had to take Shahada or not. I mean, like you look at my son, born, raised Muslim, prayed 5 times a day on his own. Does he necessarily have to declare Shahada? Would somebody consider him not Muslim? No, you see him, he's praying, those things. He don't know anything other than that. Ask him the 13 attributes, he'll tell it to you. Yo, this, that, and third. So, you know, I can see it, but with us here, it becomes a reason for us to argue. We be sitting there arguing all day. If a person becomes mukallaf and he want to take a shahada, tafadhal. Remember the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever says La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, he'll enter paradise. He might just want to do it just based off that. Some people, it depends on their tariqah, that's what their tariqah is founded on. You say La ilaha illallah, you take the shake hand, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. You see what I'm saying? You're still getting that benefit from it. That's my whole point of mentioning that. Um, but some of these things that we're talking about, like what you discussed, we'll end up arguing about this stuff all day. You know what I mean? Some people couldn't be humble enough. Like I can imagine some other teacher. You sitting there, you're saying, you're explaining this. I see him. That's just the sheikh's opinion. What is this, bro? If he said he took shahada, how many lie? He took shahada. Let's move on. No. See, the sheikh was wrong because, and you'll be there all day long. It's not something that's violating Islam. If you want to take shahada, and that's his reasoning being, right? Remember that hadith, Ali. This is where I mentioned about tariqah and stuff like that. I might as well clarify for somebody be like, "Yo, you got a grave in the masjid." It's from a hadith of the Prophet say something Ali and Fatima and Hassan Hussein. And the Prophet say, told him close the door, took everybody under the cloak, and they said the shahada, the kalimatain, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. I think it was 3 times, right, Muhammad? They said it 3 times. So that's where that comes from. I think it's 2 or 3. Yeah. No. So that's where that comes from. But the bottom line is Ali ibn Abi Talib, Karamallahu wajh, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, right? If he said it, then there's no problem. A person say, I'm gonna say La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, just shahadatain. Okay, cool. But what we're talking about here is just basically how do you judge a person to be Muslim? You see what I'm saying? So our children growing up in the masjid never gonna say, yo, you're a Catholic because you didn't take shahada. I'll be glad. You see what I'm saying? That's where it can become problematic. It becomes problematic. You know what I mean? So what? You was born Muslim. You still a Catholic. Did you say the shahada yet? Like what? You see what I'm saying? So the Shaykh was clarifying these particular issues. But so far, the homework is only that one ayat, and I got to tell you where the ayat is at right now. I think it's in Surah to Nisa. I'll give you the references and everything. I'll put it in the Google Classrooms. Yeah, I'll put it in the Google Classrooms for what's the homework. So see, you got some research. It's all about research in this class, man. Alhamdulillah. So, subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik.